Doira Sagara Dasa Krishna Kori Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doira Sagara Dasa Krishna Diya Padachaya Shoro He Amare Tomara Charana Dori Diya Padachaya Shoro He Amare Tomara Charana Dori Jaya Bhegadoni, Jaya Dusha Shori, Jaya Guna Devo Dase. Jaya Satsanga, Deho He Shri Sangirashe Ekaki Amar Nahi Pai Balo Harinama Sankirtane Kripa Kore Sharamindu Dhiya Deho Krishna Nama Jane Kripa Kore Sharamindu Dhiya Deho Krishna Nama Jane Krishna se tomar Krishna jite paro Tomara Shakti Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Boli Daita Pache Pache Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Sagara Dasa Krishna Kori Oh hey Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada This is a great song, Ujjvala Varuna Gora Vardeham, written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He's just so enamored of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he surrendered to him, they wrote all about his beautiful spiritual qualities. Ujjvala Vadana Godavara De Vilasita Niravadhi Bhava Videham Tribuna Pavana Kripayalesham Tamprana Manicha Shisha Chaitanya Gadgadan Tara Baba Vikaram Durjanda Tarjanda Nada Vishalam Bhaya Bhajana Karana Karunam Tamprana Mamicha Shisha Chaitanyam Aranam Bharatara Charu Kapola Indu Benindita Nakachaya Ruchiram Jalpita Nijaguna Nama Vinodam Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanayam Vigalita Nayana Kamala Jaladaram Ushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram Jatiyati Mantara Nritya Vilasam Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanayam Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Chanchala charu charana gati ruchiram Manjira ranjita pada yuga madhuram Chandravanindita shitala varanam Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanayam Titora Kamandalu Dandam Divyakalevara Mundita Nundam Jana Kalmasha Kandana Dandam Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanayam Bhushana Bhuraja Arakavalitam Kampita Vindara Vara Ruchiram Malayaja Vira Chitta Ujjvala Tilakam Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanayam Nindita Adina Kamala Dalanayanam Ajaniram Tashi Bhuja Galam Kalevara Kaishora Nartaka Vesham Tamprana Mamicha Shri Sachitanaya. Ujvala Bharana Sura Bharateham Vilasika Niravari Bhava Videham Srivana Pavana Kipaya Lesham Shamprana Mamita Shri Sachitanaya. Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Gaura Hari. Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Jai Gaura Hari Bo. All together now. The Mangalarti in Vrindavan Dham. Here we go. Vibhavadi Shesha Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayati Nrsinga Bhavana Shri Madhusudana Rajendra Nandana Shama Bhutana Katha Kaitavasasana Jai Dasharati Rama Yashoda Julala Govinda Gopa Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramada Bhuvana Sundara Bhara Ravana Kakara Makara Kaskara Gopi Jana Vasahari Brajera Naka Gopa Vrindavan Chittahari Vansidhari Yogindra Bandana Srirandana Rajajana Bhayahari Navina Nilana Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamsi Vihari Yashoda Nandana Kamsani Surana Nikunjara Savilasi Karambakanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavitila Nivasi Ananda Vardana Premani Ketana Kulashara Jogatama Gopangana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Gunaganadama Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chanmata Kora Nam Sudarasa Jao Krishna Jasa Raku Vachana Manamora Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Golo Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Divinity and Divine Service. Get the 34. Do you want to do the English or the Sanskrit? Or both? Which? Sanskrit. Okay, here we go. Vyasuvacha iti samprashna samrishto vitranam romaharshani pratipuja vachastesham pravatu upachakrame sutuvacha yam prafachantam anupetam apetakrityam vaipayano virahakartara ajuhava putreti tanmatayatayataravo binedus Tam sarva bhutariyam munim anatosmi Yaswanubhavmakila shruti savanekam Adhyatma deepam atikirshatam samundam Samsarinam karmayaha purana guruyam Tam vyasasunu guru muninam Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye Manayak sadhu krishtoham mavadmir amangalam yakrita krishna samvashno niratma suprasidati Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir bhoksaje ahaitu kiya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati Vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojita janayatyashvairagyam jnanam chayadahaitukam Karmasya Pumsam Vishvaksena Kathasuya Notpada Yajyadiratim Shama Eva Hikevaram Dharmasya Hyapavargasya Narkotayo Pakopate Nartasya Dharmaikantasya Pamulabhaya Hismita Kamasya Nendriya Pritir Labo Jiveta Yavata Jivasya Tattva Jignasa Narto Yascheha Karmabhi Vadanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Nameti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shaktate Kashcharatana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani manam akashchata grihitaya ato pukirtita sreshta varnashrama vibhagasya swanustistasya dharmasya samsiddhirharitoshanam Ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam prati Shrotavya kirtitavyascha yeya pujascha nityada Yad anudyasina yukta karma granti nibandhanam Chindanti kovidastasya odya kulya kataratim Shushushoshadathanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantatstokya Padrani Vidunoti Suritsatam Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki, tada rajastamo bhava, kamalobha dagyaschaye, sheta iter anavidham, sitam sattve prasidati, evam prasanna manaso, bhagavad bhakti yogataha, bhagavad tattva vijnanam, mukta sangasya jayate, vidyate hridaya gantish, chijante sarva samshaya, shriyante tasya karmani, Krishna eva manishvare, ato vai kavayo nityam, bhaktim paramaya muda, vasudeve bhagavati, kurvantyatma prasadanim. Gadastamayiti prakritir gunastaya, yutta paraparusha eka ihasya gate, sityadaye hari bhajishi hareti sanja, Shreyam sikata kalu sapata dornanam suru, Parthivadarano dhumas, tasmad agnistrayimayaha, tamasastu radastasmad, sattvam yadramadharshanam, Vejire munayo kagre, bhagavantam adhoksajam, sattvam vishuddham shemaya, kalpante yenutam iha, mumukshavo ghora rupan, Bhabhuta pati ata, narayana kalashanta, bhajanti anasuyava, Aditaya samashiva bhajanti vai, Pitra Uta Prajeshadim, Shri Aishvarya Prajesavaha, Vasudeva Parameda, Vasudeva Paramakaha, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriyaha, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi, Sa evedam sasarjagre, Bhagavan Atma Mayaya, Sarasadupaya Chaso, Gunamaya Gunovidu, Kayatnasneshu, Guneshu Gunavaniva, Anta Pravishta Abhati, Vijnanina Vrtrimbrita, Yanamovanir, Darushveka Sayonishu, Naneva Bhakti Vishvatma, Bhuteshu Chatatapuman, Sagunamaye Bhave, Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmavi, Svanirmiteshu Nirvishto, Unke Bhuteshu Tadguna, Ayateshu Satvena, Lokan Vai Loka Bhavana, Vilavakara Vivato, Devatiriyan Vanarishu, Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane, Paramahansyam Samhitayam, Pratamaskande, Nanishiyo Prakyane, Vityodhyayaha, Hari Om. So because we couldn't figure out the vote at the polls, all the counting machines, everything, for who wanted to do Sanskrit and English. There was all disputes across the country. We're going to do the Sanskrit and the English. This is a raging debate on all the news channels right now. So we're going to try to solve it for everybody. Grashrava, Sutta Goswami. Neatness counts, you got to go at the same speed. The son of Romaharshan, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Shukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son!' Indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who, out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruit of actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance, and just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction. He accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all, yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. After creating the material substance, the Lord, Vasudeva, expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. The Lord, as Supersoul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Thus, the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta translations of the first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Backwards. Just do the first four backwards. Bhavayat yesha satvena lokan vailoka bhavana Leelavattaranurato Devatiryandaradishu. A little help. Is it Asau Gunamayer? No. Yes? Asau Gunamayer Bhavir Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabi Sanirmiteshu Nirvishto Punte Bhuteshu Tadgunan Yata Yavahito Vanir Darushveka Svayonishu Naineva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Chatatapuman Taya Vilashiteshveshu Guneshu Ganavaniva Antapravishta Bhati Vignanena Vijimbrita. So when you're driving to the temple, you do it forwards. When you're going back home, do it backwards. Then you'll have it all together. Okay? Haribo, get the 34, Ki Jai. Vanchagobladrusha, Kripasindabevacha, Patitanam, Bhavanibhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namah. Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Sanamantrasya Vidrishti Vishi Chandra Kumu Devatashana Bhavanashana Yogaha Omana Shakti I think we need a Bhagavatam, second canto, first part. Thank you. So, Dhanavari, Devi Dasi, reported to us a couple days ago that Janava Jivana Dasi, who's in San Diego, she has been fighting some cancer for some time, and I think we need to offer our special prayers at this time because she's entered into what seems to be a very difficult stage, or the last stage. She stopped eating recently and is preparing herself for leaving this world. She's such a dedicated person. Since I've met her and since she took initiation, she was struggling physically. She knew that she didn't have an unlimited amount of time in this world. Knew it more acutely than we do, perhaps. And she's been a great stalwart going on with her services, chanting and so forth. And so our prayer to Shri Radha Madan Mohan and Srimad Mahaprabhu and the great acharyas that please protect our Janava Jivana, give her strength in these final times to be fully conscious of your lotus feet, and please engage her fully in your service. Thank you very much. And if Dhanavari's there sometime, she can maybe give us an update. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Jamuna Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Keep going. That is on the slides. Vagishayasya vadane lakshmiyasya chavakshasi yasaste hridaya samvit. This is a prayer by Srila Sridhar Swami, who is the much revered commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, revered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The process of accepting the message of Bhagavatam is submissively hearing from those in disciplic succession. And in disciplic succession, one takes the direction and mood of the previous luminaries or acharyas, those who have established themselves as the most important devotees, in that they've brought to light the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam and is accepted widely by all the devotees. You might consider when you enter a science class at your high school or college or wherever it may be, you have to accept some commentary by the previous luminaries of science. Newton might be one, Einstein. And you also have to accept some axiomatic truth, that when you join the science class and they tell you what the speed of light is, you can base your homework on that, or you can go out and try to clock the speed of light on your own and rediscover it and find out if it's all true. But in any system of knowledge, there's a way of accepting the axiomatic truths that are passed down. Otherwise, if one questions everything, you get postmodernism and everything falls apart because there's infinite regress in one's logic. That is, you can't trust anything or anyone. And in that there's simply chaos. There's a question everything, there is no knowledge. So in this epistemological system of the Vaishnavas, there are various acharyas who pass down this self-luminous knowledge. And as Prabhupada mentions in the Shisha Upanishad, you can test it all yourself. Or, to save time, he says, you can accept such axiomatic truths and move forward. Of course, Krishna's there within the heart also to reciprocate and to confirm this knowledge. Te sam satata yuktanam. Could you back up still one? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. He gives this metaphor that actually the next verse is a metaphor, but in this verse he says that if you're sincerely trying to understand him, then he reveals himself from within the heart. And in this verse, Srila Sridhar Swami gives a prayer to his Ishtadev. Ishtadev means that his main deity is Lord Nrsingadev. And he says, Vagisha yasya varane, Lakshmi yasya chavakshasi. I worship Lord Nrsingadev, within whose mouth resides the great masters of eloquence, upon whose chest resides the goddess of fortune, and within whose heart resides the divine potency of consciousness. And next one. Sampradaya vashudhartam sviya nirbandha yantrita shruti stuti mita vakyam karishami yatamati. Desiring to purify my sampradaya and being bound by duty, I will briefly comment on the prayers of personified Vedas to the best of my realization. It's just that we've taken these Mangalacharan prayers from the beginning of the prayers of personified Vedas. That's why he mentions it specifically. Although it's one chapter in the 10th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam. The next. Srimad Bhagavatam Purvai Sarata Saniveshvitam Maya Tutad Upasprishtam Uchishtam Upachiyate. Inasmuch as Srimad Bhagavatam has already been perfectly honored by my predecessors' explanations, I can only gather together the remnants of what they have honored. This is always the mood of the Acharya. Don't try to screw out any new meaning, but try to bring forward the message that has been given by the previous Acharyas, but then adding one's realization which will be relevant to the current audience. Those were all by Srila Sridhar Swami, and now the prayers by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as he enters into this commentary on the Bhagavatam. Mama Ratna Vinikbhavam Ratnanya Parichinyata Asantu Santu Jairemi Nasva Swanta Vinodakrit. The saintly devotees may laugh at me for becoming a jewel merchant, though I know nothing about precious jewels, but I feel no shame, for at least I may entertain them. Namesti Vyadushyapi Napi Paktir Varakti Raktir Natatapi Lolyad Sudur Magad Eva Bhavami Veda Stutyarcha Chintamani Rasha Gritnu. Though I have no wisdom, devotion, or detachment, I'm still greedy to take the philosopher's stone of the Vedas prayers from the fortress in which it is being kept. Mam ni chatyayam avekavayu pravartate patayitum balachchet likam yata swami sanatana shri krishnang gribastamba kritam valamba. If the wind of indiscretion, my failure to acknowledge my lowly position, threatens to knock me down, then while writing this commentary, I must hold on to the effulgent pillars of the feet of Sridhar Swami, Sanatana Goswami, and Lord Krishna. Pranamya Shri Gurum Bhuya Shri Krishnam Karanarnavam Lokanatham Jagat Chakshu Shri Shukam Tam Upashraye. Repeatedly bowing down to my divine spiritual master and to Lord Shri Krishna, the ocean of mercy, I take shelter of Shri Shukadev Goswami, the protector of the world and its universal eye. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And now we'll be looking at 2.9.19 to start with this morning, and continuing what we started in the discussion in the morning class with that was in Make Japa Great Again. We have this chapter answers by citing the Lord's version. And I'm glad no one has to do translation, because I said you have to stop and somebody translates. So I'm free to speak. So this verse is at 2.9.19. Oh, it's all good. Happened by chance. Tam priyamanam samupastitam kavim praja visarge nidashanunarhanam vabhasha isha smita shochita gira priya priyam prita mana hakare sprisham tam unto Lord Brahma priyamanam worthy of being dear samupastitam, present before, kavim, the great scholar, praja, living entities, visarge, in the matter of creation, nija, his own, shasana, control, arhanam, just suitable, vapashe, addressed, ishat, mild, smita, smiling, shochisha, with enlightening, gira, words, priya, the beloved, priyam, the counterpart of love, pritamana, being very much pleased, kare, by the hand, shrishan, shaking. And seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him as worthy to create living beings, to be controlled as he desired. And thus, being much satisfied with him, the Lord shook hands with Brahma and, slightly smiling, addressed him thus. Prabhupada's purport. The creation of the material world is not blind or accidental. The living entities who are ever conditioned, or nitya-baddha, are thus given a chance for liberation under the guidance of his own representative, like Brahma. The Lord instructs Brahma in Vedic knowledge in order to diffuse this knowledge to the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls are forgetful souls in their relationship with the Lord, and thus a period of creation and the process of dissemination of Vedic knowledge are necessary activities of the Lord. Lord Brahma has a great responsibility in delivering the conditioned souls, and therefore he is very dear to the Lord. Brahma also does his duty very perfectly, not only by generating the living entities, but also by spreading his party for reclaiming the fallen souls. The party is called the Brahma Sampradaya, and any member of this party to date is naturally engaged in reclaiming the fallen souls back to Godhead, back home. The Lord is very much anxious to get back his parts and parcels, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. No one is more dear than the one who takes the task of reclaiming the fallen souls back to Godhead. There are many renegades from the Brahma Sampradaya whose only business is to make men more forgetful of the Lord and thus entangle them more and more in material existence. Such persons are never dear to the Lord, and the Lord sends them deeper into the darkest region of matter, so that such envious demons may not be able to know the Supreme Lord. Anyone, however, preaching the mission of the Lord in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord, and the Lord, being satisfied with such a preacher of the authorized bhakti cult, shakes hands with him in great satisfaction. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyaevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nitai namineche namirhate shadamulyena tite chere. Nitai namineche namirhate shadamulyena tite chere. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. There are many ways in which people try to control the mind. In the Yoga Sutras, there's the yamas and the niyamas. Means you have to clean up your life before you can meditate. Yamas and niyamas mean you have to get right with the people around you. In society, you can't lie, you can't steal. When you lie, then you always have to be thinking about the implications of it and who's going to find out. You can't meditate in that way, right? Right. And similarly, if you steal, you're always thinking about how you did something wrong. And then there's ways in which one has to reform one's personal habits. You can't wallow in the mode of ignorance and be a pig and meditate. And Patanjali Muni describes the yamas and the niyamas. And throughout his teachings in the Yoga Sutras, he's giving a mechanical way that one may gradually still the mind. He doesn't talk much about asana. He just says it helps you to sit longer. But then he says that the ultimate practice, or the shortcut, is called Ishvara Pranidhan. He refers to the Lord as Ishvara. Ishvara means the supreme controller. It's one of the names of Krishna. And Pranidhan, we know from Tadvidi Pranipatina Pariprashnena Sevaya, means to approach submissively, to bow your head before someone and accept their greatness and accept knowledge from them, subservience and so forth. And so through Ishvara Pranidhan, he says that then all the other processes become automatically achieved. In a similar way, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami says, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Surijanaschoy Krishne Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That if you give your attention to serving Krishna directly through Bhakti Yoga, then you'll naturally Sarva Karma Krita Hoy, all the things that you normally have to do, the extra things or the details of the process, you come to automatically. There's much more evidence in the Shastra about how just by worshiping Krishna, one develops all the good qualities of the demigods. And the Bhagavatam, Sarvar Gunas Tatra Samasti Sura, the Bhagavatam says that you attain the good qualities of the demigods. How? By direct Krishna bhakti. If you worship Krishna. Even if you're a very lowly person, if you take to the process of bhakti yoga, then you'll become purified inwardly and outwardly. Oma pavitra pavitrova sarvavastan katopiva yasmaret pundarikaksham sababhya bhyantara shuchi. Inwardly and outwardly you become purified no matter where you come from. If you just think about Krishna. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaya Yashuvairagyam Jnanam Chayarahaitukam. By directly worshiping Krishna, you get knowledge and detachment from the world. Who has that? Not many people, except for those who worship Krishna. And if you try all kinds of other methods, the Bhagavatam says, or I should say the demigods praying to Lord Krishna with the womb say, Yene Raminaksha Vimuktavaninas Tvayasta Bhavad Avashuddha Buddhaya, then you don't have it quite right. Your intelligence is a little messed up. Avashuddha buddhaya. It's not pure. Your intentions are not aligned properly. And therefore, whatever kind of progress you make is temporary. Patantyada, again, you'll fall down again from that position because it's only imagined liberation, it's not real. Whereas if you directly worship Krishna in bhakti yoga, yene ravindaksha vimuktamaninas, then you're automatically liberated. So the devotees who promote bhakti make this very clear. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur also says that liberation stands outside my door. I do my bhajan for Krishna directly. And there's mukti personified. She's waiting outside the door, along with dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Everything everybody wants in the world, in personified forms, they all stand outside the door of the person who's worshiping Krishna directly. And they say, what can we do for you? And the devotees, nothing really. As Kapila Dev says, the devotees aren't interested in liberation at all. And Rupa Goswami incorporates into his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the very beginning about the 6 symptoms of pure devotional service. It immediately puts one in transcendental pleasure. It's the beginning of all auspiciousness. It's the only way to attract Krishna. It's very rarely achieved. And those in pure devotional service deride even the idea of liberation, because this is a phantasmagoria, the liberation, as I mentioned, but it's also abhorrent to the devotees because they want to worship Krishna personally and be persons eternally, as we are. And they don't want to miss the sweet exchange that the devotees have that they have with Krishna through their service. Here we find proof positive that Krishna is a person, as Radhika Raman Prabhu pointed out when he gave his seminar on the Bhagavatam, and he was mentioning about aham. One of the important verses in the Bhagavatam, still in the 2nd canto, aham eva asam eva agre nanyat yat sarasat param tasmad etam. That Krishna mentions that before the creation there was I, and after the creation there's still I exist. And aham means that person who always exists, who's the source of all creation, and that Radhika said Krishna is the only one who can claim to be aham because he's the source of all other persons, and he's the only one who exists as an individual without being dependent on anyone else. Our sense of existence is always dependent, whether in material or spiritual life. And spiritually, Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That the souls are energy of the Lord, and the energy comes from the energetic, is dependent on the energetic. Whereas Krishna is the source of all energies, and he's not dependent on anyone else in his sense of I or aham. Those who are conditioned souls and have a bodily conception of life are fond of what's called ahankara. And this, it means that I'm the doer, and that's a sound vibration they make. I'm the doer, look at me. But Krishna is actually the original center. So this is not bad news for the conditioned soul. It may seem like bad news because when I get involved in this illusory idea that I'm independent, then I suffer. Bhayam dvitiya binibeshita syad. There's a sense of I'm separate from God. There is no God. There is no personal God. Even if there is a God, he's impersonal. Ha ha. Therefore, I'm still the center because, who wants to think about nothing? And it says, Bhayam dvitiya binibeshita syad ishada petasya viparyo smriti, that the person who's conditioned develops a contrary psychology and becomes a competitor of the Supreme Lord. So what the good news is that, first of all, this is a mistake, big mistake, little jiva, stop it. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha, manmaya mam upashrita. There's 3 psychological conditions, you've heard me say that again and again, that prohibit us from being in our natural, eternal, blissful condition. And one of them is this sense of bhaya, or fear of our personal existence, or fear that there is a personal God, because what might that entail? So in the Bhagavatam, we're getting a view of how personal Krishna is and how loving he is. If you think of the last few words here, priya priyam, prita mana, karesh prisham, and even before that, ishat smita, shochita gira. So as mentioned here, if you scroll down to the word for word a little bit, ishat means mild, smita, smiling. So when he meets Brahma and he shakes his hand, like maybe this. That's why people like it so much. It started at the beginning of creation. It's just carried on. If you go like this to somebody across the street, they'll go through traffic to get to you. It's like, okay. Then it says there, Ishat, mild smita. He was mildly smiling. Krishna has a mild smile at Kurukshetra also when Arjuna says all these things, and that why he can't fight. And Shochisha Gira, with enlightening words, Priya. Priya means the beloved, and Priyam, the counterpart of the love. So it's in a very loving way. With a smile on his face, he's shaking hands with Brahma. And Pritamana, being very much pleased, Kare, by the hand sprishan. So that's a very personal gesture. And he's appreciating Brahma for his austerities and so forth. And bringing this into our own life, the process for worshiping the Supreme is not something that is so complicated that we can't figure it out. It's not inscrutable. It's something that can be described, that there is a personality of God. And paradoxically, the more we appreciate the personality of God and the more personal we are with him, then the more universal our thinking is. I'll just enter into evidence a couple of points from the secular world that I thought are interesting because they can overlap this idea about describing the personhood of God and our personhood in relationship with him. So in the world of acting, a personality named Carl Rogers stated the following, which became a very popular statement. In the acting world, the principle of the more personal, the more universal. This was his declaration, that the more personal you are, the more universal your acting will be. So he says the principle of the more personal, the more universal as it appears to actors means the more you learn to draw upon your private emotional life, the more real it is for the audience. And the audience will not know what the actor is accessing to make it real. It takes a lifetime of learning and exploring. So in the way of art, when one is expressing something very personal and real and accessing one's emotions, you might notice that when somebody speaks in very general terms, people are, all right, whatever, it's glad you're there, but next. And somebody gets up and bears their soul in front of others. Of course, appropriately too, because there can be times in which a little too much information, perhaps. But if it's sincere and somebody's actually trusting the audience, whether it's one person or many, and speaking what's in his or her heart, according to personal experience, then it becomes so interesting that the audience leans in. Everyone stops darning a sweater or whatever they're doing, and it's like, wait a minute, somebody's actually going to be real here and talk about what it means to them. Somebody commenting on this said, about the personal is universal, said, paradoxically, personal experience is universal in a way nothing else can be. because although it may seem particular in its details, it feels familiar to all of us. We're all in the same boat. Atmau pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati arjuna sukham vayati vadukam sayogi paramomata. Krishna says, a yogi is one who thinks of everyone as in terms of one's own experiences in this world. So the idea of being personal, becoming more universal, because we can all relate to it in certain ways, very powerful. And another quotation, we like to make a distinction between our private and public lives and say, whatever I do in my private life is nobody else's business. But anyone trying to live a spiritual life will soon discover that the most personal is the most universal. The most hidden is the most public, and the most solitary is the most communal. What we live in the most intimate places of our beings is not just for us, but for all people. That is why our inner lives are lives for others. That is why our solitude is a gift for our community, and that is why our most secret thoughts affect our common life. So in this sense, there's a way that unless we're cultivating this meaningful kind of relationship with Krishna, that is, it's not nimagraha. I'm not doing it because it's just, well, I should say, let me put it in the positive. We're doing it because we're sincerely reaching out to the personality of the Lord. And we recognize our position in relationship to Him. That's why we're doing it. And when we have those experiences, which are reciprocations on a very personal level from doing our own practices of Krishna consciousness, that becomes the most valuable substance that we can then distribute to others. And even if we don't actively distribute it, as it's so rare for somebody to have that kind of a focused practice, I don't like the word focus, I'm taking it back. When we have that much sincerity in our practice, that it becomes manifest externally in all that we do. Even those who are a little bit more solitary, they become known by Krishna's arrangement. Like Madhavendra Puri had a very deep practice with Krishna. It was very personal. And the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that even though he ran away, did Madhavendra Puri, from any kind of notoriety, that it follows the devotee wherever he goes, even if he tries to hide out. It's like, he's in there. You'll find him over there. And people find those who are not so externally facing, or whether they are or not doesn't matter. They can be externally facing for the purpose of spreading the movement, or they can be more dedicated to an internal practice. The point is that the real combustion takes place when there's a very personal, meaningful, sincere interaction that the devotee's having with Krishna. So what we cultivate inwardly becomes outwardly facing at some point. So there's a few more verses that I have that follow this vein, but in sorting it out and coming to the points that are most useful for us to take away, let's have some discussion, meaning if you have some reflections on any of the ideas I've put forward or what you heard so far, Bhakta Roman's ready to go, and then Bhaktin Kennedy.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances. Nice to see you back to ISV. The past week brought me to realization, and you prove it now, that how is important Guru Parampara in growing in Krishna consciousness. Because with Krishna mercy, as I got from Srimad Bhagavatam reading, we have two paramparas to follow. So as in the first canto, Narada said, there's another parampara which called Anartha parampara, and there's Guru parampara. So he always gives us an offer which way we can go. And in terms of personal, even in Anartha Parampara, we're taking all advices in this way personally too. So it goes person to person. So you kind of learn from your parents, then you teach your kids. And all of those mistakes have been transferred from even your, past families and stuff. And he said in this verse, it's important to choose the right parampara, that you get that proper knowledge which gets you elevated. And I realized our souls like a little balloons, which to elevate you have to get rid of a certain weight. But you actually can act only within those modes of material nature, because when you got high, the air in the balloons get cold and you get descent again, and it goes back in this circle. And the only through Guru Parampara you can learn that fire which will keep your balloon inflated and hot all the time, so you can pass that material heaviness, which is all comes. And I realized another thing, that material world teaches a lot about yantra, but Guru Parampara teaches about mantra. And it's always amazed me how that's easy to go with that balloons up and down, but I found only if you keep up with this knowledge, at least you floating through the life but not going on earth. It was a really, really nice points about Parampara, Maharaj, and I really appreciate that we have all of those literature to follow. Thank you very much.
Haribo. The proper term for someone who takes care of bees is, what is the, no. For birds,
Apiologist.
Aviary. There's another word.
Apiologist.
No. That's birds. Anyway, there are apiary. Is it apiary? Apiary. Apiarists know that there's a queen bee. The way that those who take care of bees, now that I'm not using apiarist, when they want to move a hive from one place to the next, they find the queen bee. The hives are quite busy. There's a lot of work going on in there. And a person who's trained knows how to find the queen bee. And then if she takes the queen bee and moves her to another place, then all the other bees will go there. Why is that? And have you ever seen bees work? You ever watch them? They're very determined. They jam their head into a flower and they come back out again. And then they go to another place. And if they got somehow locked in a room or something, they'll go up against the window again and again. I got to get back to my service. My queen is waiting for me. Bang, 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 bang. They just go. And if you try to stop them, they'll stop it, nink, and they'll sting you and die because they want to serve their queen so much. And this is the natural inclination of the living entities. This mood of service. We are, by nature, Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami, servants of the Supreme. That's our forward march in life. And so as Bhakta Roman pointed out, if we get the wrong sampradaya, our service will be wasted on that which is unworthy. And the word anartha means those things that are valueless. You're working hard, but for no real good reason. You're not getting any return on your investment. How's that sound? Would you like to invest? If you like to invest in our bank, how much was your return? Nothing. So, yeah, that point of alignment is very important. It's the same mood of service of the bee, but we have to know that Krishna is the center. And we have that song that we sing sometimes. What is it? On Janmashtami? Kesha, Kesh, Deva Vandam Bande. This song by Rupa Goswami is in this mood of serving the center, the one who's all sweet. Okay, and now we have Bhaktin Kennedy.
Hare Krishna. I just have a really short reflection.
that you'd mentioned what we do in our innermost lives is for everyone, which means that nothing is impersonal, least of all God.
Thank you. This true eloquence is, how does it go? Truth spoken succinctly is true eloquence. What? Essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. Bravo. Yeah. So, yes? Oh, okay. We have Vaikuntha Nayaka coming to us live from Mysore, the home of Mysore Pak.
Nanda Pranam Guru Maharaj. Very
Hare
happy
Krishna.
to see you again. Maharaj, my question was on this, the last sentence of the purport, that anyone preaching in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is very dear to the Lord, and the Lord is satisfied with such a preacher, right? Uh, but um, we also have a small home program, and I sometimes get despondent when I don't feel the reciprocation from the audience, either in their turning up or they not taking up the next step. It almost seems like the what you just mentioned, that no return but only investment. I feel like it's like kind of a waste. I get, the doubts come whether I'm wasting my time and energy on the wrong audience. So can you, I know it is, I'm just looking at it from a very fruitive aspect. So can you give some guidance on how to keep going in such a situation when there is no
Yeah, I
reciprocation?
think you need encouragement. It's always a lesson. We should stay fixed in the Bhagavatam, and then when we go out and teach it to others, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we can notice how the world works, and we can notice in the right context. And so when we meet somebody who outright ignores us, we can feel for ourselves what the power of ignorance is. The power of ignorance or ignorance is palpable. I was walking down the street the other day, because I walk down the street every day. I go out early in the morning for a walk and try to put in my steps. And there was nobody out, because it was very early in the morning, early for my neighborhood anyway. And I could see somebody on my same side of the street. Oftentimes I switch sides way early on, so I don't have to decide, am I going to look at this person in the eye? Are they going to say hi, or am I going to say hi? Are we both? And if I say hi and they don't say hi, what am I going to do? How am I going to feel the rest of the day? And I was thinking of this as I was getting closer to this person, and we got parallel to one another passing, and I just said hi, and he said hi. And I thought, okay, well, that's okay. And then I was thinking that there's a consequence to consciousness. Every living being is consequential. It's not consequential if the fire hydrant doesn't say anything to me. I don't mind. And there's no sense of reciprocation there at all, or expected either. But when I walk by a living being, there's an expectation of something, and there's a consequence from that interaction, one way or the other. And in the science of consciousness, which is the Bhagavad Gita, we can know what happens at different phases of consciousness and the different interactions of those in different levels of consciousness. And therefore, there's a lot of instruction about that. For instance, Ishvare tadadineshu bhalisheshu dvisatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. Bhagavatam guides those who are out in the world interacting with people and says that, okay, give all your love to Ishvara. Just don't worry. If you pour out unlimited love and attention to Krishna, you'll never go wrong. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita himself, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam, I can handle it. You give it to me, I'll digest it. We want somebody to take our love. If somebody's all the time, he's like, you're really great. It's like, no, get out of here. I don't want to hear it. Okay, thank you. But they can defer a little bit. If people won't accept your gifts, I'm not worthy, I won't take it. There's a way Krishna can accept everything that we give, even if it's imperfect. He can accept it as long as there's a sense of giving love. So give to God. That's one part of the relationship. Next is that we should make friendship with devotees. Next is we should try to give as much mercy to the innocent as possible. And then for those who are not interested or they're averse, interesting word, they're not into verses, that we don't tell them any verses. You don't want to know any verses? I won't tell you any of them, not even Hare Krishna. So there's ways the Bhagavatam understands. There's people at different levels. There are entities that we can relate to in different ways. So it says categorize it and do so accordingly. In observing our interactions with others, because you invite people to your home, Vaikuntha, you don't know who's going to come. And then they have different levels of reciprocation. And we can take that as a way to self-reflect. In other words, if somebody ignores us, how do we feel? Or if somebody's nonchalant about our sincere presentation, how do you feel? Actually, I'll change it from a rhetorical question to, how do you really feel? Sad. Yeah, you feel put off, sad. You can feel like nobody loves me. There's a lot that happens in the mind of the conscious being when we're not taken seriously. I've seen it. I was in a class one day in economics of all things, and there was two girls in the back talking, and the professor just went crazy and kicked them out of the class because they weren't paying attention to what she was saying. And it was more than disciplinary. She was really hurt, teacher, really stuck in my mind. Because everybody else was listening, but there too was like, so there's a consequence to our interactions with other people. So we can then take it as a lesson ourselves. How is my relationship with Krishna when I'm chanting Krishna's name? Do I take it seriously? When I'm listening myself, do I lean in? And how have I been treating Krishna by ignoring him for one life after another and not paying attention to him? Is that hurtful? So anyway, I should be more practical. When people come to your house and you have programs, just cater to those as much as possible where there is a spark that you can fan. And there's a rule of thumb, and that is if you invite 100 people to come to your house, and the people who say they'll try to come are definitely not coming. You can just scratch them off the list. They're not coming. There's no way they're going to come. Try means no. And then those who do RSVP, does anybody even know what that is anymore? It used to be a really serious thing back in the old days. RSVP means I'm going to be there. And nowadays, when people RSVP, it means maybe they'll come. There's a 50-50 or maybe 60-40 chance that they'll make it. And then maybe out of 100, one person shows up at your door. And you can then say that that's the most important person. Somehow or other, they voted with their feet and they came here, and you give as much as possible to them. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if you go someplace to preach and nobody comes, you should preach to the four walls because the vibration is powerful. We don't know how people are taking this. People can seem like they're not into it. They have their own reasons for that. That's their problem. Our problem is just presenting it as much as possible to those who are as sincere, and then it'll have its effect because we're delivering the medicine. We don't have to make the medicine effective. It's already effective. It's up to them to take it. And just a personal anecdote, when I was in London, I had received a very nice but very short email from somebody in Ireland saying, I would like to come visit you. And from the name, because it was an Irish name, I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, and I passed it on to my host there and said, this person says they're coming. And so at the last minute, they said, yeah, they're flying in. They'll only have half an hour, and then they're flying back to Ireland. So, you know that show we do on Fridays at 12 o'clock that JM keeps going? It's called Success Sadhana. It's more like almost new agey kind of stuff. And, we're catering more to the business audience and stuff. So this person's been listening to it for the last 3 years, lives on a farm in Ireland, and never met devotees before. Well, got connected with it just from taking a yoga class, and somebody mentioned it a few years ago, and then he looked it up himself on YouTube. Then he came, and he was in awe being there at the manor, and then I talked to him for about a half an hour, and he had to leave. He had an Uber waiting in the parking lot. And he just wanted to come and personally say that although I've never said anything until now, this totally changed my life. And he said, I'm not saying that I'm just saying it as my reaction to the fact that you don't know who's out there, who's listening, or what's happening. Our duty is to deliver the message as sincerely as possible to the audience. And, Nirkula's mom, when she was driving sometimes and the kids were fighting in the back seat of the car. Have you ever had that, parents? She used to say to them, she said, you better stop it, or in a minute I'm going to turn around and swing, and I don't care who I hit. And so when we preach, we do care who we hit, but sometimes it's like, you put it out there to everybody, and it's like, I don't know who I'm hitting with this, but people are getting hit. It's in the Bhagavatam itself that there's 3 kinds of people. That the one who's speaking gets the most benefit, the one who's listening gets the next, and everybody else in between. The vibration leaks out, and people hear it, and they get affected. Anyway, don't worry, because the process that you're involved in is worthy in and of itself, and if for no other reason, do it for self-purification. Because you're lucky to have a forum to study for and then present the Bhagavatam to others. And you will be surprised, it will bear fruit, and the most inattentive person will come to you, I'm predicting, at some point and say, you've changed my life, and I've decided to become a full-time, dedicated soul to Lord Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Okay, a couple more. Yashoda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Bali. Bali, then Yashoda.
I have one reflection regarding the interaction with Lord Krishna and Brahma, how he shook his hand. That's why in English you can see only one word like friend, but in Sanskrit you have a different level of friendship, like called mitra, bandhu, such kind of things, which is given that when Krishna is in Vrindavan, he may be hugging his friends very intimately. Or when he came to even Hastinapur, when he met Arjuna or other, he was giving a big hug. So it's likely more intimate friendship. But here looks like it's a chapter of process of creation. So probably it's a business deal. How Krishna is, you go for it. Just like when you are a CEO and you are telling your CTO, I approve this architecture, go for it. So it's likely exactly similarly, Krishna is playing, soaking his hand means, I'm very pleased, this is my mind and this is the need of the hour. This is the best preaching you are doing. So my reflection is, there are levels of, different levels of friendship, which is like mitra and bandhu. Mitra means a country to country, let's say USA and Mexico needs to have a maitri bhav, means a friendly relationship in terms. So those are likely more on political side. So this is likely a bandhu, and very dear most also Krishna comes. But you can find out from Krishna's gesture with different level and extrapolate a lot from this incident. Thank you for bringing
Thank you, Bali Prabhu. It's one of the ways that Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar Devotion that one develops a relationship of friendship with Krishna, and that is teaching others about him. That's what friends do. And especially when your friend is Krishna. Do you have a mic? Yes, you do. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, welcome back. So happy to see you here.
Thank you.
So we read Srila Prabhupada's purport in 2919, where he says, two kind of people, one who are renegades, he used that word, who fall down from the Sampradaya in Krishna's eyes, and the others who are preaching Krishna's message and they are very dear to him. So ever since I read that, I've been thinking like there are some explicit, clear, tangible ways where we know that we are breaking the vows or not following the instructions of our parampara, so we are doing something wrong. But then there could be things that we don't know we are doing wrong, and they may even lead us the wrong direction, and we might be inadvertently be renegades to the parampara. So maybe we can expand on this.
It's a very different from making some mistakes that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, apichet sudaracharo bhajite mamananya bhak sadareva samantavyak samyag vyavasitoisa. This exhibition of worldliness, as Prabhupada defines it in the Sri Upanishad, mantra 17, near the end, in the purport, where he quotes the verse, apichet sudaracharo, is not considered very much by Krishna. Because one's sincere, one's trying, and you'll find also in the purport, in the 11th canto, to Jayam Sada Paribhavagnam Abhishta Doham Tirtaspanam Shiva Vrinchi Nutam Sharanyam Artiham Pranatapala Pavabdipotam Vande Mahapurushate Charanadavindam. The Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments, and it's a direct translation of his commentary in the purport, where he says in the Kali Yuga, people make mistakes. It's a very weird time to take to the direct process of spiritual life because nobody is that much interested in it, as Vaikuntha Nayaka Prabhu said, and also there's so many allurements and traps, and just anywhere you step, there's a possibility of not following a particular rule or regulation. Prabhupada, when he first came to America, stayed in a house where they had cat food in the refrigerator along with whatever else he had to cook and offer. And he said, I'm here to preach, so what can I do if there's cat food in the refrigerator? What to speak of all the other ways Prabhupada interacted with so many people that he got criticism for. He got criticism for crossing the ocean. That's supposed to be taboo, and so forth. So then, even if one does make a mistake sincerely, somehow or other, Krishna says, Sopadamulam bhajatapriyasya taktanya bhavasa hare priyeshaha vikarma yachot patitam katanchit dhunoti sarvam hridi sanivishta. He says that if you make a mistake while you're trying to do devotional service and you do something crazy, like in the category of vikarma, it's like completely wrong-headed. What's the prescription? It's not that you will languish in hell and that you blew it. He says, just go ahead, keep practicing devotional service, because I've entered within the hearts of every living entity and I know what your mood is, that you're trying. You made a mistake and it may be of wrong-headed. Now then it comes to the point of saying, well, how do I know it was by accident? And I didn't mean to do it. Well, Prabhupada says this in the verse after Apichet Sudaracharo, which is Shri Prambhavati Dharmatma Shashvas Shanti Nigachati Kaunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhaktya Pranashati. Krishna tells Arjuna, you declare it that anybody who follows this path as sincerely as possible will be successful. No question about it. So Prabhupada says, so how do we know? Well, how is it that somebody can do something wrong and still be considered a pure devotee? And it's based on this principle that if you're sincere, Krishna will rectify all these mistakes from within the heart, and he'll arrange for one to make advancement. And then Prabhupada was asked, so how do we know if somebody made an accidental mistake or if it was on purpose? And Prabhupada said, if they come back, then it was accidental. So that's parallel with Krishna's teaching that keep trying, even though you made a mistake. What is being spoken about what Prabhupada was speaking about in the purport here was somebody that's intentionally misleading people. In the Sri Upanishad, it said that ignorance is bad. But worse than ignorance is so-called knowledge. That's an interesting statement. And it relates to this point, because if somebody presents themselves as an authority in a sampradaya, like the Brahma Sampradaya or any other sampradaya, and then doesn't follow with fidelity the teaching and takes it off in another direction, especially the impersonal direction, then that person is giving so-called knowledge. And because of the way they present themselves, Prabhupada said it could be like a cobra. Cobra looks very beautiful because there's a diamond shape on its head. But if you get close enough to that, you'll be bitten. Bitten? He will bite you. Or she'll bite you, I don't know. And then you're in trouble. So you have to be careful where you take the knowledge. Now, another point, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse that's in 16th chapter where Krishna sounds like hellfire and brimstone. Like, I've heard it so many times because I lived in public for decades. And in America, and especially in the Bible Belt, presenting Bhagavad Gita in the Bible Belt, you hear a mantra regularly, which is, y'all's going to hell. If I had a rupee for every time I heard that, I'd be a crorepati. So Krishna's not saying that in the Bhagavad Gita. Some people misinterpret it that way, where he says, how's the verse start? Tanaham dushatam kroran samsareshu naradama shripam ajashram ashubham asurasveva yonishu. So in that verse, it sounds like Krishna's moving them down, down, and down. What Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavatam in relation to that verse is, it's for their purification. I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen a Western? Yeah, Western cowboys. I would say Indians, but I don't want to freak anybody out. Cowboys and Indians. So you never seen horses, hats? Okay. When we used to present the Krishna book, we'd ask people, we'd say, do you like Westerns? And they go, like, yeah. And they go, this is an Eastern. So in a Western, you'll have a scene where, any Western, you'll have a scene where a person drinks too much whiskey and they start shooting up the town. So the sheriff, all right, Lester, let's go. And he takes him and he puts him in the town jail. And he locks the door, a big old key, throws him in there. You sleep it off, Lester. And the next morning, Lester's like, where am I? What did I do? It's like, you shot up the town again. You didn't kill anybody, lucky thing, but we put you in the jail, sober up. Are you ready to go out? It's like, oh. So in the same way, the living entity, when it becomes too wayward and starts saying crazy stuff out of material intoxication, Krishna says, okay, we'll put you over here for a while. A little further down, a little deeper. Now, sober up and come out of this, and then you get another chance. So it's more in that mood. There's no sense at all. It's wrong-headed philosophy to say that God will condemn somebody forever after one lifetime. Hey, you went to the wrong church, that's too much for me. You just burn in hell forever. So that's makes God a monster. It's crazy. So when we hear from our acharyas, we understand what these points are, how it is. And so if somebody's wrong-headedly presenting to other people some information that's going to drive them off the path, the right path, then there's some way in which those who are trying to help people in general will make these strong statements, as Prabhupada has here. And Krishna also tries to separate them. Yes, you've been trying for several days here.
Hare Krishna. As you spoke on the dichotomy between personal, universal, I was reflecting on relationships in my Krishna consciousness that have inspired me and helped me. And I think two factors came to mind. One was the attentiveness, and two was attentiveness to my nature and my energy and my characteristics. One service that I do in San Francisco is assist Ananta Chaitanya with the Bhakti SF Thursday Kirtan. And we always have newcomers that want to talk afterwards over prasad, discuss their life experiences and their perspectives. And I think one thing that I realized from what you were saying is that we have to be very attentive to individual nature when speaking to others and when building relationships with devotees or new devotees, because that lends itself to a personal aspect in the relationship and builds a connection that's authentic and inspiring, not just for us, but also for that other person, and then allows it to flourish and grow.
This is a vital point. I would go so far as to make this bold proclamation that all success is based on personal relationship, and all progress is personal as well. There is a way in which I've mentioned before in advertising. The more personal the advertising is, the more meaningful it becomes to somebody. And I heard somebody once say, I took a course on advertising, and they said, if you don't have time to be personal in your advertising, then you don't have time to do business. And then I realized one day, when I was coming to the mail slot, in our house, the mail comes through the door. There's a slot, and they shove it through the door, and then it falls on the floor. And so I realized that from across the room, when I saw the mail fall, my eyes scan it, you know, like one of those Terminator things where you can see like what's there. And I just scanned it for a second, and I said, oh, there's a postcard, and it's got a personal handwriting on it. And everything else goes to the side. They're all fake signatures. You know how they make that? They use a font, and it's like, hi, I love you. And it's like, no, you don't. And so when I saw the postcard, it's actually written, a little smudged on the side, the ink and this and that. You're like, yeah, what is it? Who is this? Sit down, read it, absorb it, pass it along. Everyone wants to see it. It's like somebody wrote to you in their personal hand. It becomes meaningful. So the more we take a personal interest in ourselves and in others, then the more it becomes meaningful. And I would say that everyone who comes to Krishna consciousness, who develops a firm faith in the process, does so because of another person who has instilled that in him or her. That this is a real relationship. It's not artificial. There's a way in which we develop a mentor-mentee kind of relationship because somebody has more faith than I do, and they also have the knowledge how to present it to me so that it untangles my doubts. This is one of the things Kapila Dev says. So once we have that, then we feel strong to stand on our own 2 feet. And it doesn't happen through factory farming. It happens through what you're saying is one person takes a personal interest in somebody else, and that's where their point of reference is for how to keep going in Krishna consciousness and why to keep going in Krishna consciousness, because they have that. So that's the most important. And Krishna is doing that for all of us because he's there within the heart, and he also expands himself externally as the various kinds of helpers that come to us on his behalf. Okay. 1, 2.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was just reflecting on all the various stories that I was reading and how Krishna is so personal, as you just said in the morning. Like he tells Rukmini that whatever is mine is yours. And I was also remembering the Gopakumara thing when he actually sees Gopakumara. I read that 3-4 times first to understand it is Krishna telling or Gopakumara telling. When he says that I've been waiting for you for such a long time to see you. I thought it was Gopakumara telling Krishna first. So I went back and read, and I was, it was very touching to say that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is talking to one particular jiva. I've been waiting for you for such a long time, and I saw that you're not even reciprocating, and I came as Jayanta, as your guru, to get you back. So in so many instances, I was just thinking I should probably start compiling those exact words of Krishna when he himself is talking and, in person, just with one person. Of course, Bhagavad Gita entirely he's talking to Arjuna and everybody. But there are a few instances where in different stories where he says to specific people, specific things. Thank you.
Yeah, that continues the point. When it's really about somebody caring for us and that we find out that Krishna really cares for us. Like in a talk, somebody might say, I love each and every one of you. And it's like, yeah, right. It's too general. I mean, it's nice. It's a good sentiment. We should say that and feel it. But when somebody specifically says, here's why I appreciate what you're doing, then we become immediately attentive and so forth. And it just so happened to have that, not that quote, but another quote that somebody asked me for. It was in London. I said about this point about personality and Mahatma Prabhu, my godbrother, afterwards we were talking, and I mentioned how in the Bhagavatamrita, when Gopakumar goes back to Godhead, there's a point at which he realizes that Krishna, yes, everybody knows he cares for every living entity, but when he realizes that he specifically cares about me, that's where everything changes. And I told him that I noticed, and whenever we've read that section out loud in public, even very stoic, fully grown devotees who have been around for a while and know not to display emotions in public, or at least they don't, I look up and there's tears in their eyes. Yeah, I remember Vaisesika Shekhar Prabhu. One time we were in the old temple. Where was that? Bascom, with the dog who chewed on the shoes. So then we were in Bascom, and I was reading that pastime, and I had experienced it before in our house when Keshav Bharti Maharaj was editing that, and he was reading the manuscript to a bunch of senior devotees, and I felt emotional hearing it. I looked up to see, it's like, am I being out of place here? And that there were tears coming down from the eyes of the devotees, and they're not real criers. So when I looked up in the temple room, and Vaisesika Shekhar Prabhu was very, stoic, and he was our Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. We always knew at the kirtan when he started to dance, okay, the kirtan's going, Here's a PhD professor with one of those PhD coats on, patches on the arms, the whole thing. He starts dancing. So I looked up, and tears were just flowing down his eyes, and I said, wow, that's the point that we're looking for. Everybody's looking for that. And here's where it is. In the Bhagavatamrita, says, Gopakumar was already aware, at least theoretically, that Krishna is very affectionate to his helpless devotees. But now he learned that Krishna had affection specifically for him. Don't cry. Merely seeing Krishna was enough to utterly enchant Gopakumar, but this new discovery pushed him toward the limit of ecstasy. So our ecstasy is in relationship to the personality of Krishna personally caring for us. And that's the essence of our philosophy in the Krishna consciousness movement. Minus that, we get colder and colder the further we move away. And the more we move forward, remembering that Krishna is a person, that he specifically cares for us, and he's been accommodating us since a time immemorial. In anything you want to do, he's so kind. You want to be an aardvark? Go ahead. You want to eat ants? Be an anteater. There's 8,400,000 more species to choose from. Help yourself. I'll give you whatever you want. And if you want to turn towards me and say, Krishna, I specifically love you and I want to serve you, then he'll say, yes, and I specifically love you and want to have an eternal relationship with you. And you've got full facility for everything you want in spiritual life in your own individualized way, because every soul has an individualized desire to serve Krishna. And that's what the spiritual world means. It's full facility to expand your love in service in a very personal way, in the way you want to do. Om Tat Sat. That's the end of the class, right? Oh, I was getting hand signals. I thought maybe that was it. Yeah, it's good you're here because I don't remember what I tell everybody. So what did I tell Vrinda Sevika? Do you have a presentation? What? Oh, okay. All right, go ahead. I was told it started at 1:45. That's why I'm rolling along here. But it starts at 1:30, right? 9:30, okay. Last one. And a 1-minute answer only.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I have more like a reflection. That point about that at certain point we have to take it as axiomatic truth, the philosophy, the basics in Bhakti philosophy. So it's really helpful when preaching and people try to go back and ask, oh, who said that? And who is he? And who told him this? So if you tell that this is the point when you have to take it as it is, the same as you go to the class like physics and you take that like as a light speed or the same, that's really helpful for with working with objections.
Yes, to get to that point where you have a trusted source of knowledge is very important. It's the goal of human life. And it doesn't mean that we can't doubt. Kapila Dev says that we have intelligence, and part of the function of the intelligence is to doubt. But there's two sides to doubting. There's blind faith, which means that you really didn't investigate it very well. And that's bad. But equally as bad is blind doubt. Blind faith and blind doubt are the two sides of the coin. You blindly doubt, say, oh, there is a God. It's like, no, it can't be. Then you must be God yourself, because it's fallible logic. If you say there is no God, it means you must be God because you know everything. And so that doesn't work either. So as Radhika Prabhu points out in his presentation on the Tattva Sandarbha, there's a point at which we have to satisfy our doubts. We have to do our due diligence to hear. And that's why I said earlier, somebody with superior knowledge has to be able to dispel our doubts logically and shastrically in all different ways, and also by their personal example, that they're getting something from the practice of Krishna consciousness. We need that. And when we see that for ourselves, then we have a point of reference that we trust. And we have a trusted point of reference, and then we can say, okay, I believe this. And it doesn't mean also that, although categorically we accept it, there may be some parts of it where you isolate it and say, okay, this is really far out, but I'm going to put it in the category of later I'll try to figure this out. These other parts totally work for me, and I'm going to really embrace them. And that's all you need. You don't have to understand everything and just say, like, I totally get that. With every part of what comes out from the Vedic teachings, but you do have to have a sense that it's from a trusted source, and later on I can find out how these other things actually work. Meanwhile, I'm going to work with the part that gives me traction in spiritual life where I can make advancement. So at least that much opening we have to have, because generally the material world means, Krishna says, you doubt everything and you doubt everyone, and you never go anywhere. And you'll notice, I'm way past a minute, that in an assembly where people actually have open-hearted faith in the teachings of Krishna consciousness, or specifically in a person who's teaching Krishna consciousness, there's this cascade of nectar that comes out, because it's really rare in the material world. Everyone, even in, like, or especially in universities, you get in, it's like, yeah, well, who died and made you God? You know, how do you know? The idea of blind doubt has become more and more prevalent, and it goes into the realm of cynicism. There is a way in which religion and philosophy used to be married, and it is the philosophy side that asked for a divorce. Of course, not saying that the religion part wasn't misbehaving in many different ways, but the two go together, and you have to have that sense. And now that there's the divorces there, people have become very cynical. It's like nothing can be true unless I can see it with my own eyes. But even in physics, we have laws that say that the more you look at it, the more it changes, and you can't see it anyway, right? I forget what that's called. Eisenberg. Yeah, the uncertainty personal. So thank you very much, everyone. And I'm really overwhelmed by your presence. That was a weird way to say it. I'm really happy to be back. And it really feels like home, both to see all of you online and to be here in force on a Saturday morning when you're busy and you have so many things to do. And I take it very personally into heart. And we really do feel, I mean, it goes without saying, this is our home. And when we go elsewhere, we're strengthened by the fact that we have all of you. And very specifically, each and every one of you. But that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us alive. Thank you for being our life and soul. That goes for Nirakula also. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So that was the warm-up act, and now we have the main feature for the day, which is our Bhagavatam commentators.
Thank you so much. We can feel the energy just, boost up on a Saturday morning with your presence, dear Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma. It's our honor, and I don't know what I have done to be here. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm sure everyone feels like that. So thank you so much for showering us with nectarian Katha and your joyful, witty classes, which keeps us so happy, internally and externally. So thank you so much. We'd like to continue our series with the youth presenting. So I'll hand it over to Pooja, if you want to go ahead. So Pooja actually has been our Sunday school student for, I would say, 12 years now, or since you were down in Damodar class. So, yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. My name is Pooja, and today I will be presenting Chapter 7 from the Bhagavad Viveka, and I'm 14 years old. Can one man's mistake make many culprits? It's natural to be angry with a person who hurt us. If the pain caused by someone's action is too severe, one might even consider punishing them. But how appropriate is it to condemn or punish an entire community for one person's mistake? Knowing that one's mistake could bring infamy to one's family or community, a mature person behaves responsibly. And understanding that an entire community is not responsible for one person's mistake, a mature person doesn't hate the community. Here are some stories from the Srimad Bhagavatam to explore more on this topic. Once King Dhruva's younger brother Uttama went on a hunting excursion, but on the way he was killed by a powerful yaksha. Dhruva Maharaj, driven by sorrow and a longing for justice, embarked on a dangerous journey to avenge for his younger brother's death caused by an evil yaksha. Fueled by anger, he initially sought to punish the entire group of yakshas for the actions of one. However, his grandfather, Swayambhava Manu, recognized Dhruva's mistake and advised Dhruva to refrain from harming so many yakshas for the wrongdoing of one. But in a humble and devout manner, Dhruva acknowledged his error and took his grandfather's counsel to heart. He rectified his approach, showing humility and learning from his mistake, rather than justifying his mistake. From this story, there are many lessons we can learn. For example, we should be as humble as Dhruva Maharaj and accept our mistakes instead of justifying them. Another key big lesson is that we have to remember that the action of one person from a community or group cannot define that entire group, and they should not be punished for it. Another story that has a similar lesson is the story of Daksha. Daksha, in his arrogance, organized a grand Daksha Yagna that was to span 1,000 years. But during the Yagna, everyone except his father and Lord Shiva rose in respect. Enraged by what he perceived as Shiva's lack of respect, Daksha criticized him and discluded him from the Yagna. In response to this insult, Nandishvara, a devoted servant of Shiva, cursed Daksha, causing him to have a goat's head. But his anger was not only directed towards Daksha, but it also extended to all of the brahmanas that supported Daksha. To counter this curse, sage Bhrigu cursed Nandishvara, and with him the entire Shiva clan. The curses and counter-curses intensified the conflicts and tensions among the deities, showcasing the consequences of pride, disrespect, and anger, but also how entire groups can be punished for one person's anger. From this story, we should learn to handle others' mistakes with a calm mind so our entire group won't get affected for the consequences for what we do. But at the same time, we should never assume an entire community guilty for one person's wrongs. Next, we will look at the story of Parikshit Maharaj. King Parikshit, while hunting in the forest, became thirsty and approached sage Samika's hermitage for water. But when he asked for water, sage Samika was in a deep meditation and did not respond. This made the king feel unwelcome, and out of frustration, the king placed a dead snake around sage Samika's neck in a sign of disrespect to him. Witnessing this, the sage's son, Shringi, cursed the king, predicting his death by a bird snake in 7 days. Realizing his mistake, the remorseful king sought guidance and prepared for his fate, not wanting any of his family or group to become harmed by his mistake. We should learn from Parikshit Maharaj because he is a great example of how a devotee should act. Although Parikshit Maharaj accepted his mistake, his son, Janmejay, made a sacrifice to kill all the snakes in the world because of this. This is something that we should learn from and not do, because all the snakes in the world were being harmed even though they were innocent. When we encounter people who commit mistakes, we need to be careful not to label their communities or families as sinful or partners in crime. But we should also understand that when we ourselves commit a mistake, our families or organizations that we belong to could be condemned, lose reputation, or even be liable for punishment. Because of this, whenever we do anything, we should always have a calm mind and think things through. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Pooja. That was excellent. I'd like to, oh yes.
I really liked your topic, Pooja. It was very subtle and interesting. And I'm curious how you came up with that topic. It's an important topic. It has far-reaching implications, your conclusion, from both sides. It worked from both sides. But I'd be fascinated to know what your thought process was, how you got onto this, and what it was like researching it.
It was in the book we were reading, and I found the chapter really interesting. And I thought it was like an important topic to cover because it's like a common mistake.
Thank you. I really liked it. Very, very, very good material. Well thought out, good examples, and I think that it's something I'm definitely going to use from now on too. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes.
So nice to see you, Pooja.
Thank you.
Presenting. And I was just remembering when, at different stages, how you would not want to stand in front of the mic to now being so confident, and very beautiful presentation.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Pooja is an eldest sibling. She has 2 younger siblings, Radhika and Haricharan. So their family is a very busy family, but have been so connected. I remember having Pooja in my summer camps when she was very little. It's been an honor to work with you, Pooja, and thank you so much for showing how this topic is so important to you. And I think it's such a relevant topic, which we don't really think of the solutions to the problems we see in organizations. And every organization, every family, we all understand, quarrel and hypocrisy is a component of Kali Yuga. So this is such a wonderful way of understanding how we can look at those situations and calm ourselves down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
With that, I would like to stop here and go to the next part of the program. So humbly request everyone to please stand up and put the mats to the back of the temple hall, and we can prepare the room for Guru Puja. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Krishna Krishna. So on the screen, we have a momentous verse, and it'll cascade into several more verses. One of the ways to learn very meaningful prayers is just to integrate them into your regular program. So here we have this well-known prayer to many that expresses gratitude for the many aspects of devotional service given to us by our Guru. Shall we try it together? Okay, the 5 of you are responded, we'll try. Namash Shreshtam Manamapi Shachiputra Matra Sarupam Sri Rupam Tasya Grajam Uruparim Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi He Guru Gyanadadi Nabando Swananda Data Karunaika Sindo Vrindavana Sinahitavatar Rasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dinabando Karunaika Sindo Guru Prasada Mayamanda Mudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapa Gadhe Tatpada Padmestu Matishta Krishne Naivo Payantya Papachitim Kavayasta Vesha Brahma Yushapi Kridam Rida Mudasvarantaha Yontar Bahistanubratam Ashubham Vadunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Yanakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Shri Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a doleful and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in 2 features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him anger is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the 3 worlds. Shri Guru Charana Padma Jahara prasare bhai bhavatu viyaja. Jahara prasare bhai bhavatu viyaja. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy de. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy de. Padma Vakya Chitete Kuriya Oikya. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kuriya Oikya. Guru Charane Rati Ekshai Samagati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ekshai Jani Prabhu Chakudan Diloke Jani Jani Prabhu Yajyan Hire Prokashito Yajyan Hire Prokashito Prema Bhaktita Hoite Abhija Vinata Jate Prema Bhaktita Hoite Abhija Vinata Jate Tere Gai Jahara Sarito Jaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauramani Prasayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Radha Shiva Sari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hari Gopinath Madan Mohan Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita Bhakta Raghunath Shiva Gopal Bhakta Das Raghunath H.I. Gosar Kori Charanamandan Jaha Hoite Jnanath Abhishta Puran Sai go sai jar muri tarta Santa bara parari mora pachatra Sandera charana seve bhakta sanivar Janame hoye abila Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Get ready now Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Guru Vaishnava Padi Bhagavatam Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyat Harinam Kirtan Kohe Nado Damodas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go, Sri Gopal. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagare, hey, Radha Govinda, Gopala Hare. Bhagare, hey, Radha Govinda, Gopala Hare. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Gopala, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Gopala, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Mak Vihari, Radha Madhav, Radha Damodara, Radha Giridhari. Can't hear. Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radha Gopi Vedanta, Radha Gopi Vallabha, Radha Gopi Vedanta, Hey Govinda, Radha Chirtor Gopinatha, Radha Krishna Govinda, Radha Krishna Govinda, Radha Ranganishwara, Radha Krishna Giridhari, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Vrindavachandra, Rukmani Dwarakati, Kishore Kishori, Radha Radha, Radha Kalasha, Bhajare, hey, Radha Govinda Gopala Hare, Bhajare, hey, Radha Govinda Bhajare, hey, Radha Govinda Gopala Hare. I say Sri Bhagavana ko mere para naam hai. I say I say Sri Jnana Shyama ko mere para I go to Haribo, 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 I go to Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. We'll practice later. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shishiman. Abhay Charanaravinda. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shishiman. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamkun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sam Veda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to some of the devotees. All glories to some of the devotees. All glories to some of the devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribo. Now we have some short announcements. First from Bhakti Community, which is an organized process, community. It's people actually working together to onboard those who seem sincere to practice Krishna consciousness. It's a landing place where we can invite people to come and systematically take up devotional service, or just get introduced to the idea of it in a more formal way, but in a casual, very friendly environment. Please, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, everyone. We want to make sure that you all know what is Bhakti Community and what we do at Bhakti Community. So Bhakti Community is a community where we connect the newcomers with very simple, genuine love. We all heard in today's class how much love is important at a very individual level. And Bhakti Community exactly does that. I was hearing about, somebody forwarded me about a teacher. She said she has a box where she has picture of children who are her favorite, who is her favorite. And she invited all the children to come and see what's in the box. And each child comes and sees in the box there is a mirror. And each child sees his or her own picture and gets so happy and almost hugs the teacher. So that's the kind of love and connection we want to give to the newcomers, because everyone is important and everyone needs love and they are all there. We just have to find, when they come to us, we just want to give them the full-fledged unconditional love. That's what Bhakti Community does. And we have a lot of programs going on during the week. Monday and Thursday are the most popular programs. So if you give any books to anyone, please introduce Bhakti Community to them. If you still have doubts about what we do in Bhakti Community, please talk to me or any other volunteers here. They'll be happy to share with you what you have to tell to the newcomers so that they can join the Bhakti Community. I just want to also invite today Barbara, who attends Bhakti Community for a couple of years now, almost 2 years, and she comes from Atlanta. She attends Bhakti Community week by week at Atlanta. She also is a very popular participant in our women's circle, Bhakti Circle, and Bhakti On also. So I want to invite her and see if she has a few words to share with us.
I just am overwhelmed by the Bhakti, the community, and it's been wonderful because I feel like this is more my home than Atlanta because I see everybody every week. I recognize you. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I've seen you on Thursdays. So nice to see you. And Akshay, he's in my corner all the time, and he's texting me all the time just to check in, see how I'm doing, and telling me of the different talks and connecting me to YouTube so I can watch you all from there when I'm not, in Atlanta at the temple there. It's kind of hard because this is where kind of got my start. And so for me to go into Atlanta, I don't like to say it because it's not negative, but I haven't had the connections yet to build that strong community. And, it works both ways. I'm kind of shy, a little bit shy sometimes, but get me going and I don't stop. But I see Kennedy and I just want to give you a hug. And Pavani, she's been wonderful. The women's group is amazing. The women's circle, I love it. And so I thank you for including me and making me feel so loved and
Thank you, Barbara. And I always remember when we have such beautiful people coming to Bhakti community like Barbara, Kennedy. I feel like the last straw that broke the camel's back, and Krishna is so merciful that he gives us the opportunity to feel that mercy on how a simple book and a simple connection can make people grow so much and transform so much in their bhakti path. So we are all very fortunate. Please take the opportunity and introduce Bhakti community to everyone.
And now we have our co-Sankirtan leader, Malini Devi Dasi, to tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We have won a goal of at least 3,000 Srimad Bhagavatams by Bhadra Purnima. And Bhadra Purnima is on September 28. It's coming up soon. Before that, we have our Janmashtami MSF as well. It's a hop where we are preparing for the big marathon. And our goal for Janmashtami is just to prepare for the marathon and to distribute at least 100 Srimad Bhagavatams, which is just to test the waters. And we have more things coming up for the marathon, which will be announced soon. But one of the goals that you heard from His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu is that we want to get the 34 forwards and backwards if you can. So we will be sending out the PDF for you to memorize and learn. And maybe if there is a verse that sticks to your heart, maybe you can share it. And we were also thinking, Prabhu was mentioning that maybe at some point one day, we will have everybody stand up and recite the entire 34 forwards.
No, not one day. It's coming up before the 28th. Please be ready. We may call on you at random.
Yeah, so be prepared. We'll announce that date as well so that you're prepared for it. Today and throughout the weekend, if you saw last weekend, if you're in the Weekend Warriors group, that's the most happening group. We have devotees going out every weekend. And we have some devotees going out even through the weekdays. Some devotees today are in Eugene, in Portland, Oregon, they went for traveling Sankirtan, that is Krishna Prabhu and his wife Kamal. They are doing hundreds of books, traveling from place to place. And when they meet nice people, they are inviting them to Bhakti community as well. And last weekend, we went to Denver, Colorado, where we set up some table at the farmer's market. And one of the persons where I met, they said, when I showed them the book on yoga meditation, she said, I'm connected. And I was wondering how she was connected. And then she heard Prabhu's lectures online, and she's connected to the wisdom of the sages. And she participated in the Bhagavatam drive for distributing Srimad Bhagavatam. So it was so nice to see how everybody's connected to some or the other way, and they appreciate so much about we distributing Bhagavad Gitas at the farmers market in Denver, Colorado. And another very important thing that came up, in April of this year, we went door to door. Achyuta Kumar Prabhu, Namsmaran Prabhu, Dhira Prashant Prabhu, and myself, we were at the door. We tried to distribute a set to one of the very pious lady from Karnataka, and she really appreciated the Bhagavatam, but she didn't take it. She gave a $100 donation, said, "It's very nice what you're doing, but I'm not ready." And just when we were in Colorado on Sunday, I got a message saying that I said no that day, but I want Bhagavatam. And she said, "I want the Bhagavatam now. Can it be delivered immediately?" So Namsmaran Prabhu went to her home on Sunday. Sorry, not on Sunday. He went on July 4th, that's Tuesday, and he delivered the Srimad Bhagavatam. And she said that she wants to send more donation also because she didn't pay enough at that time. So it's so encouraging to see that all the efforts that we are putting in may not bear fruition immediately sometimes, but more are coming. And the Western Sankirtan team has been going out to so many places, I can't even count. Sometimes the messages in Weekend Warriors are so many that you have to take at least 1 hour to go through them, which shows how much effort they're putting in to make sure every book is distributed. If you feel inspired, please do join us. Kautukarna Prabhu will tell where they are going for the Western spots. We have spots for Bhagavatam distribution in Fremont, in Cupertino, and one in the Tri-Valley area. So please, if you feel that you're missing out on something, then please do join us. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
I wanted to tell you something that I didn't tell you yet, but I think you'll really appreciate. Everyone will, I hope. When I was in London, I had a speaking engagement at Studio 108 with Kaustuba Prabhu. It was the 70% of the crowd there was from the Wisdom of the Sages. And Kaustuba Prabhu and I are old friends. As you mentioned, we've been on their program before. So, in the crowd there was a person who was so excited to meet me because he wanted to thank you for sending him a Bhagavatam set all the way to London. And I remember when that happened, there was a discussion. You know how much it costs to get it over there and all the trouble that you went to? He never let me forget it. Every time he saw me, he was like, "You changed my life. You sent me this Bhagavatam set all the way from America. You made the arrangement and everything like that." So I just wanted to give you a snapshot that the arrangements that you all make for making sure that the Bhagavatam set gets out to people all over the world, no matter where they happen to be, it has a direct impact on people's lives. He was noticeably ebullient and engaged in devotional service. Hare Krishna. Kautukarna.
Our upcoming leader.
Hare Krishna, I'm a servant. Thank you, Mataji. Actually, so the spots for today, we have Halder Rupa Prabhu going to Santa Cruz. Prabhu, could you raise your hand? So Halder Rupa Prabhu, if you want to go to Santa Cruz. And Monterey, Mukharvind Prabhu and Ananga Gopika Mataji, they are leading a team. And Vaishnav Toshni Prabhu, Adin Prabhu, they are going locally. If you want to go nearby spots, they might also go to Los Altos. There's Art and Wine Festival there. Otherwise, they will go to Indian stores. I am going to San Francisco. There are 2 festivals there, so we'll try either one. These are the spots for today. I'm just representing Western Sankirtan on behalf of Malini Mataji, Halder Rupa Prabhu, Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu. I'm just one of the ground soldiers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have 3 points to consider between now and the 28th. Malini mentioned 2 of them. One is that smash the 3,000. Last year we did just a little under 3,000. And the second one is that you always have to have somebody to chase. And I can attest to that from spending a lot of time doing the parikram at Govardhan Hill. And what kept me going was the next person ahead of me who I was determined to pass. And so in a similar way, we have a very heart-to-heart connection with the devotees in Pune. And we have our very own dear Radhesham Prabhu, who's part of ISV. And last year, they were the champions in India, and they did over 3,000 sets of Bhagavatams. So we don't know how many they're going to do this year. They may not reveal it to us. They may not even know themselves. But the second is to beat Pune. Right? So you've got smash the 3,000, beat Pune, and what's the third one? You sure? Okay, we need to get buttons. Get the 34 buttons. And be ready. On the way here, do it forwards. On the way home, you can do it backwards, so you're ready. Malini, go ahead. I said everything, sorry. Hare Krishna. Any other announcements? Well, I have the most important. Yes? Yes, for the cooks, please.
Hare Krishna, today's prasadam was cooked by Hansapriya Mataji and Shyama Bhakta Prabhu.
Haribol! I forgot the most important announcement of the day. Are you ready? Sharirad Vijaja Jodendriyata Heka Jive Pele Vishaya Shagare Talma Jimayati Loba Take Jeta Kaki Kasam Chahare Krishna Bora Goya Gori Bare Bhajan Shapasharana Dilo Bahai Shayana Vitapha Chaitanya Gita Mahaprasade Govinde Namaprasade Vaisesika Sapa Punya Pachapraya Prasade Sada Susana Adiyasyo Vidayate Prasanate Kusayati Vaya Swayopa Vishya Ganda Bhaktivasara Bhagavati Mahaprasariki Go Premanande Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Please come take prasadam. Haribo. Panchkobdurvisha Kripasindamevasha Patitanam Bhavanegyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. What?